Hey, we're back at the top again today with the final video in the series regarding if Pokemon Scarlet and Violet would be the best in the series. If all you're here is to bash that opinion, I'll give it to you short. No, it's not the best in the series. It has its highs and lows, and I'll get to that. I will not be defending its weakest points, and I won't hold back, but I will bring my favorite parts of the games to the forefront. And for those who watched my End of Generation 8 review for Sword and Shield, no, I have not watched Wolfie's review yet before typing up this script. I want to do my own thing this time without crossing the streams. Since I completed the game Saturday night, November 20th, I've had some time to mull things over. So what's my honest review about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and where is it on the best games of the series list? Let's dive in and find out, shall we? Just as a warning, if you want to remain spoiler-free, I would not recommend this video. While there are no story spoilers, I do show a few Pokemon concepts and things that have been unreleased officially outside of trailers. Just wanted to give you guys the heads up in case you wanted to remain spoiler-free. After having some of the blandest and most linear regions as of late, I'm looking at you, Alola and Galar. Paldea is probably one of the best regions I've ever stepped foot in. In the past, Kanto and Johto were limited by their consoles. Hoenn and Sinnoh brought out the colors and different climates. Unova and Kalos were more limited, but you got to travel to different types of places. And Alola and Galar, well, there's some Pokemon regions alright. But Paldea combined most of the aspects of all the regions, except for the latter two, in a perfect blend. You had your beaches, countrysides, mountainous areas, cities, and even snowy cities. Biohazard-filled craters. Wait, what? While it was open world, everything seemed separated very well by the areas, marked by the titles that appeared on the screen. While sure, the music wasn't different on each area, at least the different parts of the map changed them up. Opening up the world was a fantastic idea, and I wish it didn't take this long to do so. I want to give credit to the GameFreak B team, supposedly that's who made Legends of Arceus, for really pushing that via Legends, because who knows what we would have had in this region if that never happened. While Paldea really made a fantastic step in the right direction regarding the region, it isn't without its shortcomings. Believe me, I've seen the horror stories. I've experienced the lag. Hell, I waited almost 15 seconds staring at a black screen just to end the game.
Yeah, let's just head on out. There's no other business here. I'm gonna get a better ambiance of this. Just red. It's bad camera quality. I really hope my game just didn't crash.
It didn't. I was getting scared too.
This is a 15-second black screen. Come on, Game Freak. What is this nonsense?
It's an unexpected error.
This is a... You can do better. Do better, man. Come on.
The performance is something that should not be excused. This is not a hardware issue for all that are blaming it on. It's not the Switch's fault. This is the same console that could run Xenoblade, Breath of the Wild, among other open world games. There should be no reason that sometimes it feels like I'm running through a gravity field. I'm not sure how Legends of Arceus felt so great to play, while this game feels like I'm playing Pokemon through a cheese grater. It feels like a step backwards in a way. While my console seems to be okay for the most part, as I didn't run into these silly glitches that you're seeing now on screen, it still suffered the same game crashes, the random lags, frame drops, and stutters. I'm about to talk about things that are much more positive, and that's why I put this section near the beginning. I didn't want to seem like a sellout Game Freak shill thinking that they can do no wrong. It's unacceptable that these games launched in this state because they excel so much elsewhere. People are mad not because it's a terrible game, well, most people, but rather because one of their favorite series came out with a new game that they can't even play very well because the glaring issues of the performance keep stifling them. I will say that I'm tired of hearing the same complaint though. Some people are acting like these games killed their family. Chill out. I hate the performance just as the next person, but focusing in on one thing and trying to use that as a selling point hides the true value of the game. You're just tearing it down for one reason. We can only hope that GameFreak patches these performance issues soon, but as I said with the 20-minute timer and drowsy/frostbite in the previous video, this is GameFreak we're talking about here. Now that the crippling part of the game is past, I really wanted to talk about my favorite parts of the game. I've already talked up and down about how much I love the open world. It completely wiped away the feeling of having a linear path. People are already complaining about not being open world enough? Yeah, there's roadblocks and limiting factors? Let me tell you, the only roadblock I ran into was near the Team Star's Dark Fort. I just jumped off the cliff around it into the desert just to get to Kofu's gym. I don't know what you're talking about. And sure, the level scaling meant you more or less had to fight the gyms, titans, and Team Star forts in a certain order, but for how much praise Kanto and Johto got for battling gyms in any order at a certain point in the game, it makes not much sense to throw this game off the cliff for doing the exact same thing. Games will always gate certain features so you don't get stronger things too quickly. I got my ass kicked by Atticus without realizing that Giancomo was the weakest of the Team Star forts, and I beat him third. Yes, I do agree and wish the game scaled with how much you have achieved so far, but again, this is GameFreak we're talking about. The extremely slow pace it takes for them to add beloved features to Pokemon games is mind-numbingly ridiculous. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt as it took the B team to finally push them on many aspects, but I know that will only get me pitchforks to the face. For the Pokemon themselves, I will stand by what I said before. These designs for Generation 9 were the best I've seen in a long time, and no, it's not just Ceruledge this time. I was truly surprised to see the types of Pokemon revealed. Honestly, so many different concepts and things we've been wanting for ages finally were used. How long were we waiting for a fire type to remain on all four legs? How long have we been asking for a peacock Pokemon? And to really make you feel old, how young were you when you thought Pokemon should have a dolphin? We've also been waiting for 5 generations to get non-regional evolutions too. That was a big surprise to me, not to mention so many wanted type combinations were finally used. Fire Grass, Steel Poison, Electric Fighting, Fighting Fairy, among others were checked off the list. We got a Tentacool with feet. How cool is that? But then they went and knocked the past/future forms, known as Paradox forms, out of the park. Now, I should add that the future Pokemon look really cool, but leave a lot to be desired. The future wouldn't be all about robots, but GameFreak must have used the generic future ideal as a reference. But I was blown away when I saw some of the past Paradox forms. Holy mother of... Do you see this thing? Are you seeing this? Unfortunately, we know that they won't follow up on this to bring more because it's such a good idea, but the concept of story-based forms is something GameFreak should not throw away. It's a fantastic idea to do that, and there's a myriad of ways to introduce them, such as through Paradox. Competitive still scares me, as I alluded to earlier in the video, as the 20-minute battle timer remained. What killed off battling for me in Generations 7 and 8 was the massive power creep, Dynamax being swiftly banned, and the battle timer. I've been concerned that Terra will be too strong not to ban, and not having enough time to battle. However, GameFreak actually isolated the reason for battles taking forever, and that's the moves and Pokemon that stall out the timer. Recovery moves all got nerfed to 5 power points. Toxic and other stalling moves basically became harder to find, and Pokemon now default their moveset to their current level when they're transferred to Generation 9. They really wanted to kill off stall no matter what. I hope it remains true to cut down, because if we only have 20 minutes, we can't be stalling. It's a little too early to tell if competitive will be great or not, but I have hope. I've been wanting to battle after not battling for almost 5 years, but I'm still hoping. And one of those reasons is because of how much I like the Terra concept. Potential bans aside, I think it's the most unique gimmick that brings a lot of strategy. In fact, it's the gimmick with the most strategy tied to it. Megas, Z-moves, and Dynamax were all just buttons to get stronger. But with Terra, it's all about timing and typing. No longer do you have to be worried about a potential nuke button on the other side. It becomes more of a chess game as you have many plans that you can use depending on the situation, while still potentially throwing your Terra type away if you choose incorrectly. These types of gimmicks are what I love to see, since it's a slower paced competitive game. I hope it lasts long enough in 6v6 singles, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Smogon bans it. But I appreciate the way they're taking it. If you haven't heard, they're banning all the problem Pokemon first before deciding what to do with Terra types. Some people say it's uncompetitive, but that's just the new toy syndrome speaking. I feel things will settle down and common Terra types will be more obvious. That's how a meta game works. I wanted to save the best for last. The story. Holy mother of pearl. The story. This is by far a top tier story that rivals Pokemon Platinum. To this day, nothing has rivaled Platinum. No game has gotten anywhere close. That's mainly due to GameFreak using the same formula as a crutch and never getting around it. Until now. Scarlet and Violet's story is instead broken into 3 parts. You have your usual Pokemon formula, battling the 8 gyms and becoming champion, but the other 2 expanded on this idea. They annexed the evil team to give them their own storyline. Instead of making them antagonists, they were people that you had to learn about to understand them, of course as you battled them. Which is a far cry of hating people like Cyrus, Getsis, and Lysandre, and their plans and ideals. The third path, Path of Legends, involves defeating boss-like Pokemon, reusing that idea from Sun and Moon / Legends Arceus. But here's the kicker. None of the 3 had any main focus. You had every type represented somehow through all 3 paths, and you could do them in relatively any order, giving them replay value to the game. The characters? Don't even get me started. The characters, well, for a Pokemon game, were some of the deepest in a long time. It's not saying much though. I could actually dive into the story without breaking my neck, they were so deep. My friend and I thought Arvin was a dick at the start of the game, but at the end, it completely changed my judgment. So much character development in all of the characters. Well, except for Nimona. It's not like I hated her character. She's definitely a step up from Hau and Hop, but to this day, the top 4 remain with Blue, Silver, Berry, and Hugh. And everyone's predictions of an evil professor? I won't spoil it, but that's what my friend and I thought originally was going to happen. And the result was... well, it was a somber, soul-touching ending that left me in awe. I'll just leave it at that. If you want to know more, please play the game, or at least wait until GameFreak gets off their ass to fix the performance issues first, because this story was out of this world. I've never been more invested in the characters and the world up to this point. So to wrap things up, I wanted to give it an overall grade and sort of compare it to the other games in the franchise. As far as the story goes, this is the best story I've ever played in a Pokemon game. They rewrote the usual formula to encapsulate everything they've done previously, dove back into Generation 5 to have deeper, interesting characters, and to say I wasn't touched by the ending, that would be a lie. S-tier story. The Pokemon. Again, these are the best I've seen in a long time. Maybe not the best, but there are a lot of notable ones, design-based and competitive-based, that were added. I know for the first time, I feel confident that I'll enjoy battling Pokemon. Well, if it lets me. To add story-based forms, popular concepts for Pokemon, and missing type combinations people have been wishing for? Amazing. A-tier Pokemon designs. The region and gameplay were great. I know Kanto through Sinnoh are the top tier regions, and it's a tough score to beat, but Paldea can rival those. It's only because this game doesn't feel like a hallway simulator running through narrow routes without exploration. This game redefines exploration in a Pokemon game. The game's finale took me 3 to 4 hours alone because I kept running around the final area. You can play the game in nearly any order, while obviously restricted to a preferred order. It's a process, but I know that GameFreak will eventually understand and get it right. Or at least I hope they do. They can't stay clueless forever. S-tier region, B-tier gameplay. Competitively speaking, I'm still on the fence about Generation 9, but in comparison, I wasn't excited to battle in Generation 7 or 8. There's a lot of opportunities to really try out and enjoy competitive battling once more. GameFreak really did their best to accommodate us to fit 6v6 battles in 20 minutes, even though the obvious response to the backlash of the timer would have been to add the chess timer or return it to a 60-minute timer. Even 30 minutes would have sufficed. Either way, this is the first time since Generation 6 that I'm excited to actually competitively battle. B-tier competitive meta. And the one you've been waiting for, the performance. This is the worst game I've ever played in terms of performance for Pokemon. I've never had issues with Sword and Shield or Legends Arceus for the most part. I did have issues with Generation 7, but that was due to the 3DS's limitations. That's been proven the problem for those games, but for Scarlet and Violet, that's an unacceptable excuse, and GameFreak really shouldn't be proud of this. Things like this is what give Pokemon a bad reputation as a money printer. Just half-ass a game to get the money. No, that's not what is the problem. GameFreak is just inept at making a 3D world. At least the A-Team is. The Legends Arceus developers should work with the A-Team more, as while the graphics and animations of both games are still outdated, together they can blend the ideas into a halfway decent looking game. Until then, people will still act like GameFreak killed their family. F-tier performance. Overall, my bold prediction failed. The story carries the game by far. The competitive side has yet to be experienced, so I can't really grade that yet, and the performance absolutely kills the enjoyment. After experiencing the mid-tier Generation 7 and the absolute bottom-tier Generation 8, I believe Generation 9, so far, rivals that of Generation 6, 2, and 4. I'm not going to officially place it on the list since it's way too early to call, but it has potential. If GameFreak would stop being so inept and actually understand a 3D open world, who am I to talk though? I've never designed one of these yet. Later in the generation, it could turn the early perception to a positive view. It all hinges on that. I give Scarlet and Violet a 7 out of 10. Until the performance issues are fixed, I cannot grade it any higher. A story can only be so good if you can actually play it. The performance makes it harder to enjoy, and it's what truly holds the game back. I'll be making more content about Scarlet and Violet coming up soon, so if you want to start the climb today, drop a like and enjoy the ride. I'll be experimenting throughout the months as I have a lot of ideas. More to come with a few update videos explaining the situation, but I wanted to clear the air of what's been happening truly and what's to look ahead for. Thanks for holding out, and I hope to bring the light to your days moving forward. Thank you. With that, I'll head out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you back in the top later on, because you know that's how we do it.